We've gotten to the point with this franchise where it's so big and so grand that they're now starting to think it's now biblical. I mean, for God's sakes, its main character is just straight up European Jesus. You got long hair and a long beard. I get it, it's Cheryl Lowe's look, but still, when you have that, something tells me you're starting to think of yourselves as just being bigger than what you are. I mean, he's named after a god. I mean, there's even some characters that are named after gods in this movie. It's kind of ironic to see how much of that personification has grown for the Tron franchise to tackle. You got Jared Leto there. I mean, what else are you going to get out of it? Tron-Ares is directed by Joachim Rønning with a screenplay by Jesse Wigutow and a story by David DiGilio and Jesse Wigutow. The film stars Jared Leto, Greta Lee, Evan Peters, Joey Turner-Smith, Hasan, Arturo Castro, Gillian Anderson, and Jeff Bridges. According to IMDb's plot synopsis, a highly sophisticated program, Ares, is sent from the digital world into the real world on a dangerous mission. It seems like this franchise only makes a new film with every other generation because, of course, the first movie came out in 82. That was made for my parents' generation, Generation X. Then you have Tron Legacy, where, yeah, you could say it was made for millennials, but we all know that it was also made for Gen Zers. And now in 2025, I guess it is made for Gen Alphas, I guess, but none of them are really going to know what Tron is, to be exact, so I don't know where this is gonna land, but I mean, I guess it's for them, but they may not know that. It's funny to think that the last one happened 15 years ago, folks. 15. I was 9 when Legacy came out. I'm now 24. Wow, we took 15 years to make another movie of this franchise because it kind of starts to show that Disney really doesn't care about this IP other than just marketability, I guess, or people who are, I guess, fans of this franchise, which there are, but let's face it, you know why they're making another one. The rise of AI and tech companies, it's only fitting, though, that this series would touch upon these ideas at some point. It was going to eventually get to a point where AI is becoming a thing. Nowadays, companies are using it. Big tech companies are trying to implement it into their own workspace, even movie studios. So it only makes sense for the Tron franchise to kind of, at some point, touch upon these ideas about artificial intelligence, how big it's getting, how these tech companies, they're using it to just create and benefit for themselves rather than people, which is funny because it's made by a corporation, but we'll digress. Jared Leto takes center stage in this third installment, and he's been on a great streak these last couple of years. Yeah. However, this outing is starting to show the flaws more than the previous ones, I think, compared to the other movies. While I do think it has some things about it that do a little bit improve upon from like Tron Legacy, I do think, though, ultimately this is by far the weakest in the franchise, and one that I think had a unique opportunity to do something with it, and in my eyes just kind of squandered it and just kind of half-baked it, if you ask me. It's not a terrible film, but it just falls short on what they wanted to achieve with this outing. Like I said, the idea of using AI, and even though it is not something new, like the idea of having it discover its consciousness, its sentient feelings towards things, again, nothing new, but it is nice to see that the Tron franchise can touch upon these themes. But yeah, unfortunately, it just doesn't stick really 100% of the landing. Before discussing my issues, though, here are the few positives that I have. The performances are decent. Everyone in the cast does fine with their roles, and honestly, they make their roles passable. It's not to say that these performances aren't necessarily terrible, it's just more so like, hey, the actors were given this, and they are just making out with the best that they got. I'll say this, Jared Leto is not absolutely like annoying or terrible in this movie. He's just kind of meh. He's fine. He's serviceable. Could somebody else bill him? Absolutely, but I mean, it's Jared Leto. He's gonna do his Jared Leto thing. But I'll say this: he's not terrible. It's just more so like he's just really stiff. Like, the most you'll ever see out of emotions with this guy is either a smile, maybe a chuckle, or anger, confusion. But other than that, you're not really going to see him actually show really broader range of emotion than most other like characters of this nature would try to be. Like something like, for example, Arnold in Terminator 2. Like compared to these two, Arnold was definitely better. But that's just because writing wise, that's a different story. But I'm just saying between the two performances, that one is clearly better, and Jared Leto is just doing Jared Leto. Crowley's enjoyable, and Jeff Bridges, I mean, he's just there. I feel like just because he was part of the series, they just figured, we'll just have him in there. I like Evan Peters. He's fine. I do have a problem with the character, but I mean, I do like him in the movie. I think he fits the role well. It's just more so the problems that stem beyond that. But I'm just saying, the performances themselves, I think, aren't necessarily bad. They are just fine for what they are, but they weren't something that was really bogging the movie down for me. The visuals are stunning. Seeing the grid, light cycles, and other effects shows the effort on full display, carrying on the legacy of this franchise. Tron has always been innovative when it comes to its visual effects, or at the very least, updating it for today's technology. And this movie is no exception, just like how the 2010 film did compared to the 1982 movie. This movie does what this movie, you could say, looks a little bit out of date, or rather touches up on things that were shown in this movie that were made a little bit better here. And so, yeah, the light cycles, the grid, the razor ships, the discs, the simulations, all of that is there. There's clearly that hyper focus attention to detail when it comes to this universe and how it is supposed to look, how it's supposed to feel. And I do think that Tron always succeeds in that regard, and this movie is no exception. I think this movie definitely lives up to what the first two movies did in their time periods, and really giving you a movie that is really visually dazzling. The music is terrific. Composer's Nine Inch Nails creates a score that fits the style and tone of the series, feeling like its own rather than a ripoff. Of course, a lot of people think to themselves, there's no way you can ever outdo what Daft Punk did for Tron Legacy. That is the quintessential sound and feel to what Tron is supposed to be. And I think Nine Inch Nails does a really good job of filling in those shoes to where it is not a straight up ripoff of Legacy's music, but rather more of a continuation and adding their own style and their own flavor. And it was cool to see a band that, of course, has been around for a very long time, really going in and really creating a atmosphere and a mood that fits what the vibe of this movie is supposed to be, and for what this movie tries to kind of touch upon. I think it succeeds in really capturing that. The action is exciting. Every action sequence is thrilling and dazzling when programs fight each other, showcasing how fast and efficient these beings can be. I won't lie, the action parts of this movie I think were really quite fun and really exciting to watch. I'm not sitting here saying that they are the most innovative, but they are the thrilling parts of this film that do keep audiences invested, or at the very least going back and watching moments in this movie that I could see people looking back on and really reminiscing on how much, oh man, that was kind of cool. Like the light cycle chase throughout Los Angeles, I thought that was pretty nice, or the hover chase sequence in the grid. I think those are really cool aspects. And again, when programs fight, it's really exciting. It gets you really amped into the mood and feeling of it, especially with Nine Inch Nails composing the score. It fits well within that and just helps create the mood of it all. The pacing runtime is fast. Every scene doesn't waste any time and keeps going. With a runtime of 1 hour and 59 minutes, it doesn't drag on. I'm kind of glad that this movie is not over 2 hours, because that was my biggest criticism of the last movie, that it was way too long and it just kept on being dragged out for as long as it can for a simple story like that. Here, it's like, no, we're doing this down to under or almost about 2 hours. Good. Because that, I think, fits right with what Tron should be, and not going anything beyond being super duper grand or epic in that scale. It's not to say that there isn't epic moments within the idea of Tron. It's just more so for this movie, I'm just glad that it doesn't go anything further than that. I'm glad it just knew when to just stick to what it needed to be and just be done with it. The production is stellar. Seeing crew work, sets, props, and costumes made it feel slick but beautiful. No matter what, they always deliver. If there is one thing that Tron knows how to do, is knowing how to have really good production quality with their movies. You look at the suits, you look at the props, you look at the costumes, and you look at the sets, Granted, sure, you could say that, well, it's visual effects. Yes, but they still have to build some of these sets in certain sequences to make it seem like they are in like the grid world. And while we don't really spend that much time in the grid world, which is a problem I will address later on, I do think that there is quality with regards to making sure that everything does feel uniquely different than other science fiction movies out there, to which I applaud this movie. I think that Tron is probably one of the only franchises out there that tries to be uniquely different than other science fiction properties that are still going on to this day. But beyond that, the film takes a dip down in quality that makes it less special than the previous ones. Because while I do say that there are aspects of this movie that truly can shine or truly show a really good concept and idea, it just kind of stumbles a lot of the times and doesn't really fulfill anything that it tries to set out to be. Here are now my negatives. The story is messy. Following this AI warrior learning to be human was interesting, but unfortunately becomes all over the place and generic, wasting what I think is a good idea. Like I said at the beginning of this review, there is an idea to be had with AI of today and big tech companies, how they are utilizing it, how they are implementing it into their own systems and ways in which people gather information. I think there is something to be had about that. And then, of course, you have the classic story of how artificial intelligence tries to have a consciousness of itself, trying to express the feelings that human beings would have. So it's not to say that I don't think that those aren't good ideas that Trump can explore. It's that they had the idea, they had a concept, and it's almost like they just kind of didn't know where else to go with it. It just seems like the idea was, well, what if we bring Tron into the real world? My biggest problem, though, is that if you do that, you tend to kind of start to lose a little bit of interest, because the whole point is that the grid world is just so fascinating and so unique that when you start to take it out of it, sure, there's cool moments, but I do feel like most of the cool moments would be more so in the grid than it is in real life, because it just kind of seems like there's no point to coming to our world when we already know what our world is like. For me, I just think that they had an idea that I think was really interesting, but it just really fumbled in execution, and I just don't think they really delved deep into what I think could have worked for what this movie wanted to tackle. The writing is lackluster. Writer Jesse Wigutow pens a script that's both formulaic and boring, making the actors do so much to make it watchable. The writing here is just everything you've kind of come to expect with regards to science fiction films, how movies like this try to explain about like artificial intelligence, or rather how characters are just pointing out the obvious things, or just making it really awkward, or trying to really hammer in how much the 80s were amazing, which, listen, I like some 80s stuff too, but I've recognized, like, listen, not everything was perfect, but people, there was a line that was said in this movie, I'm not joking, where they said, the 80s. I'm not joking. That is legit a line. Maybe not 100%, but it is close to what that line is like. And it comes from a character who was just born in the digital world, wasn't created in the 80s, just had the knowledge to know about the 80s, and just it became its favorite thing. At least this movie talks about Depeche Mode. Maybe some fans would like that, but it's just kind of ironic that for a character that's supposed to be artificially super intelligent, for today, it's really reminiscing and loving the past so much. The direction is inconsistent. Director Joachim Rønning goes back and forth with being a Tron film and a regular science fiction film, lacking what made the series unique than other science fiction franchises that are out there. It's not to say that there isn't an idea here. I just think that Rønning takes this whole back and forth approach to trying to be like Tron and have it feel like Tron, but then other times start to feel like it's just a generic science fiction film when it's in like the real world. It has the Tron elements, but I mean, it's just a constant back and forth of like, does it want to be fully Tron, or does it just want to be like this weird hybrid of trying to be like a generic science fiction world where we see alien or robot races like, and then you just see our world. It's just a constant back and forth way of trying to like implement these things, and it just seems like it was just not really handled all that well, if you ask me. The villains are bland. While decently performed by the actors, they are just stereotypical antagonists that are a bit boring. The potential was there. Like I said, Evan Peters, I love him. I think he's a really good actor and he's always enjoyable, comfortable in a role. But here, as much as he is giving a good performance, his character is what you kind of expect in a lot of like movies of this nature, where he is the spoiled grandson who wants to reclaim what his family had lost or be established as somebody to look up to and to be taken seriously. And then you have the other antagonist of this movie, Athena, played by Jodie Turner-Smith, who, as much as she does the best of what she could do, I just ultimately feel like she was just really stilted and really holding back to what I think the role was, and I just don't think it allowed her to be anything more than just the killing machine. Just go kill this person, and that's it. And I think that these actors deserve way more than what these roles gave them. And for as much as they are doing their best, it's just the villains themselves are just really all not that interesting. Still a gorgeous and technical feat for a franchise to do, but fails at delivering something substantial. And that's the disappointing part that I'm starting to notice, is that it feels like style over substance as it keeps going on. Like, the franchise is just now starting to become more about, let's make sure that the visuals look amazing and the music is amazing. And if there was no dialogue and no story, if you're just watching it on display for what it is with that music and the visuals, by all means, it's an amazing time. But if you're adding in dialogue and a story like this, no, it just doesn't really 100% work. They could do more, but it might take another 15 or 20 years to make another one. Who knows? Because the time of this recording, it's not doing well. Hey, maybe Disney will be like, all right, we'll close it up for now, but we'll reopen it later on. When it's profitable, of course. So to me, it just seemed like Disney just thought that it wasn't profitable back in 2010, so let's crack at it again, because why not? Technology is up to what would work for this franchise, and if it's not working, then we'll close it back down, we'll open it up again. It's almost like, at this point, it's like, what are you even really doing with this franchise? Seriously, like, in the past few years, what has Disney done with this franchise for fans? Like, seriously, what have they done? Because nothing has been done with it. And to me, there could be more, or at least the idea of doing something, and it's not there. And to me, I think this movie is a product of just, hey, for as much as you like Tron Legacy, let's be honest, it's starting to show that Disney's just doing this simply because, hey, well, it's an IP, we have it, let's just put it out there. What's the worst that can happen? Flops. I'm going to give Tron-Ares a 6 out of 10. It's okay. It's fine. It's not the worst film ever. It's not a terrible movie. I think it is the weakest of the franchise. And I just ultimately think that for a movie that had such uniquely good concept, or at the very least had the basis of something, it just really could not find its footing. And to me, it's just really all over the place with what it's trying to set out to do. And for me, it kind of starts to show that. And who knows what Disney will do more with this franchise. I mean, if they could still sell something or make a ride out of it, I mean, they'll find a way. They'll do something, even if it takes another couple of years to make another one. Hey, for you Tron fans, maybe you love it, and good for you. I'm glad maybe some of you can, but for me, could be something better. Soon I will be reviewing Roof Man. So yes, look forward to that review and other reviews coming soon.